Have I done
Yes or no?
LSD?
Yes.
Can I talk about this?
You have
Jeff?
100,000 times.
Man bun
bro.
manager Jeff? Yeah, can I say whether or not
How about
I
we
did it?
talk about our thoughts about it instead?
Yeah, instead of the actual
I
action.
mean, yeah, look, I've tried.
What is
Stop-
it like?
Easy with the 100,000 times. I'm gonna need to reel you in, big fish.
Do it physically.
Come
show,
back.
No, show me. Do it. All right, I'm back. Sorry. My bad.
Not 100,000 times.
No,
I've
once.
dabbled.
Once, twice.
No. 3 times.
Got it.
Is it better than shrooms?
Absolutely fucking.
Hold
not.
on. Better is a
Gnarly.
better. That's like what.
Gnarly drug.
Better's a
You want
fucked-
to lose your mind?
Stop.
Potentially permanently? Do LSD.
Is that the
Stop.
drug where if you crack your back when you're old, you're just like
Yeah.
going to the
It
like
stays in your spine. It
half
stays in
rigor
your
mortis,
spinal
half
column. He's
tripping out?
He's messaging it wrong. You're taught. You need to like any other drug. Work with it very responsibly. It would be nice to work with someone who understands it.
There's
Coaches.
psychedelic therapy clinics that you can go to do psychedelic assisted therapy, which is, you know, the way to safely be able to get the benefits from certain types of psychedelics. And it's, you know, the safe way and the legal way to do things. So
Have you found any benefits from your
I don't think
experience?
people should run around like doing acid without like proper guidance because, you know, these things are dangerous. I think, you know, there's a lot of benefits that are to be achieved if you do it the right way and if you do it in the right setting and if you don't have the knowledge and have someone that can guide you through that.
But do you have takeaways? Or is it just a recreational fun drug?
I'm not like,
The
I
expert.
actually am not like an expert in LSD. I don't know.
But
like,
surely you've
that-
done shrooms sometimes
I
here at
think
this house,
so-
even maybe once.
I think psilocybin's something that I definitely have done more research in, and I especially see the benefits a lot with mental health and with like having, you know, being presented with, hey, you can take all these drugs with all these side effects, or like, hey, you can do assisted therapy and, you know, maybe like just know how to do it on your own. But like, you know, to say, okay, you can take this pill that is probably going to have a lot of side effects every day and work on the dosage up till you get to a certain point. And that's going to take a long time to find out. It might not even work.
Might not work.
Yeah. And so it's something that you have to weigh the risk versus rewards for yourself and think like, what do you think is the best thing? What do you, you know, you just with anything, you have to weigh risk versus rewards. And I think sometimes people's calculator needs to be recalibrated.
I noticed there's a tipping point with psychedelics where it becomes this semi-beneficial or fully beneficial, however, it may or may not help you, substance. And then all of a sudden you're 100% vegan. You worship the god of Shiva. You chant hymns with your friends around a campfire.
Yeah, but
you
what
smell
if-
like essential oils.
Yeah, but what were you
There's
doing?
a tipping point.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
what
but
were you doing? So here's my
like,
question. What
from
if
the other side, that looks just as crazy. I think if you're standing from that, if you start on the other side and you look at like someone living like a normal life that you might have been living before, those people are gonna think you look just as kooky, crazy, and out of your goddamn mind
And,
as they look to you.
Correct.
There's just a separation there, you know. There's a distance traveled.
I'm not a proponent of any of the things that you just mentioned. You know, I'm not a vegan. I'm not, you know, visiting my neighborhood shaman on a weekly basis. But say that person who you considered to have, you know, gone over the tipping point as you described it, was a PTSD suffering, you know, Iraq veteran, and he couldn't sleep ever, and he couldn't talk to his kids because he had terrible fucking thoughts of his kids dying in an IED attack, and that was an anxiety-inducing situation. He went through this trial period of psilocybin with Dr. Tony Bosis out there at NYU, and found that you know, psilocybin therapy calmed his nerves, calmed him down, and he did become a vegan, and he taught his kids to stop eating meat, and he did become, so like, I agree with you. I believe you're right.
Have you met any of those?
No, they
That's what I was going
should
to.
stop.
Have you met any of those?
Personally, no.
Me either.
But
I've met a lot of people who are like, oh, it's fun. It's cool.
have
it's
you
benefiting me and like connecting me to the earth? And then all of a sudden they're literally just a blade of grass.
No, I hear you, but also at the same time, like, have you met a robotics engineer that worked on Elon Musk's recent SpaceX program?
I'm sure there's a couple watching.
Yeah, have you met? You know what I'm saying? Like meeting
Reach
someone
out
is
to
not
me
a good.
so I can prove Mike wrong on this particular point.
Well, the thing is too.
Thank you.
It's like when you go in and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take whatever drug it is. If you get
Yeah.
a prescription or if you're doing this on your recreational time, it's like, okay, there's side effects and everyone reacts differently to things, and you that's why it's like to think about with any drug. It's like some things are perceived to be more safe for people to just kind of do on their own. And I think we're seeing that over time with these things as laws are changing gradually with, just like marijuana too. It used to be thought of and LSD. And that's the reason why Tim Leary and he was FBI rated. It's like, okay, why is that? They deemed this to be so dangerous, but they're not, it's like, okay, at what level?
Well, it can be for LSD. But do you remember Reefer Madness? Like Reefer Madness was a movie that came out way before marijuana was even looked at as potentially legalized. That was supposed to scare people into believing that if you take one hit of weed, you'll either become a homosexual, you'll jump out the window of your building. They put a whole movie out about this.
And that's just ridiculous, and it makes people think all sorts of other crazy things that they think other crazy things are true because they believe something like that. Wow. And you see people spiral into thinking the craziest things that they hear are true just because like that clearly is not true.
I do understand your guys' point of views, but I don't think those other drugs are at the same capacity that marijuana is.
They're not, but psilocybin is surely closer. LSD,
that's what I'm talking about as far as like we see a lot of people now we're seeing votes on decriminalization and like stuff like that, kind of a similar path that we've seen with marijuana. Just marijuana obviously came before that. So that's kind of what I'm saying as far as we're seeing a change in that because it went from these psychedelics being, the most dangerous of all the drugs to not so much. And when you really look at the science behind it, you're like, how did you even get to that conclusion in the first place? Number one, psilocybin, it's like when you think about mushrooms, it's a plant and they grow on the side of the road. Like when you, especially the farther up north you go, you're literally just walking there literally on the side of the road. So to say that that's a criminal thing to have them is kind of just ridiculous because it's like saying you pick up a plant and then so that it's nice to see decriminalization of it.
But it's a psychedelic, and another psychedelic, LSD, is made in the lab, and it's.
But when you think about the inventor of LSD, did LSD every single day for.
Did he microdose?
20 plus years.
He lived macro.
He lived to be over 100, and his wife did the same. They both lived to be over 100.
He does not have the same story as some of the other cosmonauts because some of the other early psychedelic cosmonauts like did not end up in as great of situations. They've had some major situations, but LSD. You asked the question: is it better? It's a really tough question. It's like we had that conversation about Drake versus the Beatles. Who's better? The word "better" is a very metric list terminology when it comes to compare. So
one seems like dangerous, and the other.
Oh no. So that's what I'm saying.
Chill.
So let me just LSD, from what I understand, is the most powerful drug from a mass to actual effect standpoint on the planet. So one teaspoon of LSD would be enough to get like 1 million people at a concert high. One teaspoon, like a teaspoon.
So if you really didn't know, you'd fucking just easily.
Oh yeah, you could.
Yeah, but people do that. Like,
people do somehow. I know.
Yeah.
No, but those are still at the end of the day. They still might do 500 micrograms. It's still not a teaspoon.
Have you guys seen Good Times, the movie with Robert Pattinson?
No.
Maybe.
There's this scene in the movie where they have a bottle full of acid.
Right.
And they pour it into this guy's mouth. Like they're trying to make basically they broke into like a theme park and they like the security guard, they don't want him to remember, right?
And
so
what
because he's like finds them and chasing them. So nothing. He just goes to hospital. Like obviously like it's a movie, so it's not real life. But like I don't know. He just like.
You can die as a result of as actions. Yeah.
You
the
guys.
guy who ran into the fire at Burning Man.
Okay, Did you guys see?
There's a dude that ran into fire. He's not a moth.
Well, he's not the only one. I mean, someone almost died at the Leary Ranch in a fire. The guy tipped over into the fire when he was on acid
he took
trip.
Synthetic psilocybin.
Whatever. Regardless,
and he did
was
end up dying.
Yes, and he died. A lot of people end up in fires because they're very attractive when you're on a psychedelic.
Have you guys seen?
It's a fire, George.
I
want to be inside that.
I mean,
if you're not under, if you're under a macro dose, if you listen,
is it doing more good for the world or bad for the world?
I think psilocybin will get to
it's
a place
doing more good. How
in the next 5 years? Over the next 5 years, I believe that psilocybin through medicinal legalization and semi-decriminalization across different places will get to a place where it is doing more good than bad. LSD, back to the better thing. Final note on it is far more intense and hard to wrangle than psilocybin. You can have a night of psilocybin out at the local bar, hanging out with your friends, having a great time, laughing amongst each other. Even on a high dose, even on a 3.5 to 4 grams, you saw Mike Tyson on this podcast take 4.5 grams of mushrooms and do a podcast.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if he took a macro dose of acid, he would not be able to fucking do the podcast.
You see that joint behind George's head?
Yeah.
Mike Tyson smoked that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're pretty proud of it.
Here's the thing.
in that seat.
So let me explain a little bit to you about psilocybin and like the thing that helps, well, first of all, my dad, he's a veteran, PTSD, all of these different things. He has about like 8 different prescriptions that he has to take for different things, whether it's nightmares, PTSD, muscle relaxers, painkillers, antidepressants, bipolar medication, whatever it is, like pretty much has had all of them. And over the years they change. It's like, and then to be like, oh, like maybe, try smoking weed or try mushrooms instead of taking 10 different pills a day. And then seeing the results of like, I don't want to take these anyways. Like they don't make me, like each one is for another one. It's like you take PTSD medicine, then you have to take sleeping pills, and then you take the sleeping pills and you get nightmares. So you have to take nightmare medicine. And then you take, and it's just a cyclical thing of like, hey, it's risk versus reward. You have to weigh it. And like, taking all of these things are just not good long term. It's like you see it with like painkillers. You have you're a disabled veteran or you're a veteran and you're older, whatever the case is, you're taking painkillers every day. It's like that has long term effects there's really high side effects.
I agree 1 billion percent.
When you think like when you think about like, oh, what are the side effects of these drugs? Well, any other drug that I just named have way more deaths,
for sure.
way more like side effects overall. So you have to put that into perspective and think about, okay, one thing has way less side effects and there's like rare and few or far between of like serious things versus some things have side effects for most or if not all people. And then, those things are compounding and over time, how they affect you.
I would definitely take the homeopathic route for sure, because I feel like, medicine it's a business. They want you to take that pill to get this pill, that I get it. But I don't know about like your age growing up, but like our age growing up, don't get in cars and strangers. We have Uber now. Don't do drugs. Hey, by the way, it could actually cure you. So it's like at what the fuck, man? Like I'm confused.
That's
as
crazy.
fuck.